Hi, welcome to our short video on tips for writing essays for School of Education scholarships. My name is Dr. Sharon Parnan. I teach in the elementary program, primarily educational psychology.
My name is Dr. Olinger. You can call me Joe. I teach social studies methods, elementary and secondary, and also foundations courses.
You were going to say,
Right, we're gonna show you a whole list of all of the different scholarships that are currently available, and we're gonna kind of give you some pointers about what to look for. And my big suggestion at the outset right now is to use this time right now as you're looking at these, and to focus first on the eligibility requirements, right? And if there's any scholarship here that you say, hey, I actually meet those requirements, I am eligible for that, then you should make a note, right? Write down the name of it and come back to it. So use this right now. And I have to say too, so many students do not apply for scholarships, and it's out there. The money is out there. And if you're eligible, all you have to do is write a compelling essay and you have a chance of getting these. So as we scroll through these right now, find out, am I eligible? First step. And then we can talk about the writing a little bit afterwards.
Great. So I'm just going to do some summary comments here over. We have 9 scholarships. Again, each scholarship description follows a similar format. So please make sure that you're looking at the kinds of things that are on here. In particular, these bullet points here are important for you to pay attention to. So if you're a certification only student, this is a good scholarship for you to apply to. And then some scholarships require a FAFSA form and others will not. So again, take a look at which ones require that or not. The other thing I really need you to do is to make sure that you are declared as an education major. That has been a problem in the past. Some students they're taking our courses but haven't submitted the paperwork to be fully recognized as an education major, and that does need to happen. Secondary majors, your education major will be listed as your second major. Elementary and early childhood, that's not an issue for you, but for secondaries, it should be your second listed major. With that, this is a scholarship for people who are at the end of their program. It's a completer scholarship. Here's our prompt. Always make sure to look closely at the prompt. As always, on all of these, we're going to say make sure to incorporate personal experiences, and Dr. Olinger will address that in just a few minutes. The other thing that as I'm scrolling through here, is I want to make sure you realize that our process is a blind review process. So when you submit to the email address here, it goes to a secretary, not to any of us on the committee. Your name is replaced by a number, and that's how we'll know you when we are doing the evaluation. Again, this is another, this is sort of a needs-based one. As you can see, sophomore status, so that means this is for, not necessarily for people who are finishing their program. Preferences are what they are, preferences. So if you don't quite check all of the list on the preferred, yeah, go ahead and apply, you never know. So that's important. So we move on. Here is the Kirby scholarship. Just point out if you're a graduate student, this is one in particular that graduate students are eligible to apply to. So again, actually it's a preference is given to that. But even if you're not a grad student, go ahead and apply for it. Again, read the details here. Helen Piles, this is a new scholarship. And again, education majors only are eligible to apply towards this junior class. So this is a completer scholarship as well.
Dr. Parton, I have a quick question. I think some students might wonder, like, well, if it's needs-based, right, am I eligible for that? How might they determine that? How will they know that?
Well, generally that will come through, so you have to complete the FAFSA, and then the Office of Financial Aid at PFW uses the federal guidelines for determining financial aid. So, and it is complicated. I don't know all of the rules, but generally, if you have, the FAFSA has, you've gotten other aid after completing the FAFSA, that would be a general guideline, but do not use that as the exclusive guideline. And if you have some areas where there's compelling need, I would go ahead and apply for this. The one thing, if you have need and you have not completed the FAFSA, you will not be eligible. The completing the FAFSA for need, financial aid need is required for that. But great question, because it is hard to know these days. I would always assume if you have financial need, put the numbers in, and generally that that information then starts to be conveyed. So let us make the decision on the no. Don't self-censor yourself on that, because again, as I said, if you don't apply, there's no way we can give you we can't give you a scholarship. A new scholarship this year, again, this one here, this is an important early childhood majors. Please apply for this. This is really particularly the P3 people who are in the P3 program. Elementary majors only if you have a dual license and that with an early childhood program or concentration in early childhood, are you eligible to apply? So this is a very small group of students, but in that group, I would definitely encourage you to do that. So kindergarten to second grade in public schools. So this donor is has that, but look up here. Kirk Schuster was a public school teacher in the primary grades for many, many years. And so he's coming out of his passion for those particular students. I'll kind of move quickly here because we want to make sure. Samansky, I would encourage just about everyone to apply to the Samansky. FAFSA is not required. Certification students are eligible. Graduate students are eligible. So please, 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 everyone, Samansky, apply for it. Moving on, there are 2 Benderly scholarships I want to point out in particular. So there's this one, which is merit-based, so FAFSA was not required. However, I want for people who are in, look at here, I'm going to highlight this. If you are a secondary student and you have some sort of social studies major concentration, apply, apply, apply. This is apply social studies secondary people. That's all I need to say. And if you are an elementary and you have a social studies concentration, apply, apply, apply. All right, enough said. This is a new one, the Yost Scholarship as well. Again, particularly, and Dr. Ollinger will get into this, but if you are a first generation college student, let some of that come into your essays so that you're talking about some of these things. Also here, the idea of cultural background or ethnicity, enhance the diversity of the student body at the university, that's preferred. So again, let us know a little bit about that. I will let you spend some time in particular studying all the criteria, but those are the big highlights. I'm going to stop screen sharing so that Dr. Ollinger and I can, you can see our faces better.
And so that document, though, has already been sent out?
Yes, it's been sent out. But if you need that document, you don't know how to get a hold of us, just contact the the secretary for the School of Ed, or Dr. Nunez, who is the director of the School of Ed, and those individuals are able to get you that information or get our addresses to you.
Okay. So a little bit about the writing. So here's the way that I recommend that you think about all of this, okay? You have to realize one thing first is your audience, right? You have the faculty on the Student Affairs Committee. There's 4 of us, right? 4 or 5, and we will read dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of essays, and we read all of them carefully, and we take notes in them. And so you have to keep that in the back of your mind. this is a blind review. We have no idea who you are. We are looking at these essays, and what moves us is a compelling, insightful essay, right? And so that's a big idea to consider first off. Related to this too is that, you know, a lot of us were taught how to compose a 5-paragraph essay that's expository. We write in the third person. And I would like to suggest that you do not do that, right? This should be a first person essay that's more of a personal essay, life writing. There's a whole constellation of different genres related to this. But I'm going to argue pretty strenuously that what we want is we want to see you interweave your own personal experiences with, you know, the scholarship and the research that you've been learning and reading about, and kind of combine those together. And also, to as I said before, is to tell a story, to tell your story. And don't get me wrong when I say about organization. I think some of the best essays are organized in unique, original, and creative ways. So it doesn't have to be, you know, here's my thesis and here's one step. You know, you can start out talking about an experience you had in a second grade classroom, that you saw an interaction with a student that completely changed your perspective. You know, or it could be a life experience, or you can start out somewhere else. But the idea is that you can be creative and original, but it should still have a structure, right? A flow to it, right? Remember, at the end of the day, you're trying to persuade in a way, right? You're trying to, but not only that, you're also trying to make a genuine statement about your insights, about who you are. I know all these prompts are slightly different. The one that I remember, the first one was, you know, describe the purpose of education, right? That's a profoundly important idea for every educator to be thinking about as they move through their career, right? And so consider your prompt, right? And consider each of the scholarships in terms of what it's about and what they're looking for. That kind of information is going to inform, right? The theme and the themes. But your essay should end up, you know, sharing with us, I don't know, 1, 2, or 3 compelling insights, right? That you want to share with us. You also don't want to be too plucky, right? And over positive. And, you know, because, you know, all of us here at PFW, all teachers around the country have written lots of these kinds of essays and philosophy statements. And I guarantee you that every one of us care about kids. And that's one of the reasons why we get into the profession. So try to avoid platitudes, right? General statements about things. We're looking for a personal essay really requires a lot of reflection, a lot of critical thinking, and we're looking for your insights, right? How have you been changed? How has your experience been deepened? What do you have, who you are, and what are you bringing to the table? And I know this is a lot to throw at you, but a lot of students, I don't think, are used to seeing all of that reflection as scholarship, but it is. It is. And so don't be afraid to tie in an idea that you learned, a theory, a research, or reading from your courses into some of these insights. A couple of other things real quick, and I'm not remembering everything, but this is up to 1,000 words. So in a double-spaced New York Times 12 font, that's 4 pages. It's about 250 words a page. You do not have to write 4 pages to have a compelling essay. The best writers write succinctly. They make their point. Less is more. So, I mean, we've read essays that which were really moving and powerful and smart, and they were 2 pages, right? I mean, I would shoot for 2 to 3 necessarily. Don't assume that you have to fill up the word limit. I mean, unless, right, you know, if that makes sense for you. And I'm trying to remember some of the other big ideas that I wanted to convey to you, but I think that at this point, that's all I got. First person, personal experiences, but that's the last point. Don't do this as a journal, right? You should write a journal entry. You should do a brainstorm, right? But your essay shouldn't just be, I'm going to sit down, type out a free association, and I'm done. It's personal. It's reflective. You know, take some time to craft it, right? Take some time to craft it. And that's all I got. Other than the fact that I would argue that this is a good process anyway. This is practice. All of you, in every job I've had, I don't know, Dr. Pound, for you, I've had to submit, even here to teach at PFW. When I taught kindergarten, I had to submit to the schools. They always ask, what's your philosophy of education? Or they'll ask questions like the ones we have here. So all of this is helping you to hone the way that your reflection, the way that you think, your critical thinking, your ability to articulate.
And I would add to that, look at those prompts, because those prompts were written in reflection of the donor's wishes. So as I started out today, I'm going to book in this conversation, is that we have been tasked by as the scholarship committee to honor the donor's wishes, how they want to support the students who are doing these kinds of things, and to sort of match those students with the donor's wishes. And so your essay has to give us the kinds of sort of, if you want to talk about evidence, I'll use that as strong, as a broad kind of word, give us information about how you would be a good match for that donor's wishes. And so it is a combination of your personal insights and reflections as it relates to that particular prompt, so that it gets back to donors' wishes. And so those are the kinds of things that we will be looking for. And so share with us those compelling stories that allow us to see and make those best matches.
And a last point, and I don't want to go over too far over time here, but we did this before, and we had one student start to share, and they were doing that first essay, right? And they said, wow, that's really hard, the purpose of education, because it's changed so much over the years. And then I stopped her right there and said, that is an insight, right? That is an insight to say to us, to the field, to parents, to kids, that my philosophy of education is in constant change. I am constantly learning, and so that's just one tiny example, right, of how you can create a theme around these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like I said, I know we keep saying one more thing, but to continue to make that connection, there was that one scholarship, I think the Schuster Scholarship, the fellow who taught primary school for many years in public school. And so why is your passion and your understanding out of your courses and your experiences about how you are, why primary grades is your passion, and why it's so important for someone to be teaching in those grades in public school, and then but then weave into course understandings, ideas about teaching early childhood, and then also about your own personal experiences, how they've influenced you on that. So, and then I think the last thing that I will end this, which is to say, is that any of your education professors would be willing to look over your essay. I would also encourage you to take advantage of the Writing Center, as well as, or anyone else to proof. So making sure something that you know really well makes sense to someone who hasn't lived your life but can understand the organization and cohesiveness of your essay, because that's important. We are not checking on how many commas you've missed, but we really do want to understand your thoughts. And again, all those writing conventions help clarify and communicate what you're trying to say.
School us, teach us, enlighten us.
About you.
Yeah. And yes.
All right, we're going to say goodbye, or we'll keep chatting. And please, please, please submit. Goodbye.
Take care.